What's up, Snappers? I'm Cydler, and this is Size Matters.
Size matters.
There's no time for intros. We're here to talk about spotlight caches. Now, before we begin, I want to say I'm in a little bit of an awkward position. Part of the reason I started this channel is that I loved the old card acquisition system, and I'm talking about when we had consistent series drops. And frankly, a lot of the discourse was negative, and I wanted to be a voice of positivity in the community. And then they changed card acquisition, and I'm going to be a little bit critical of it. And I know I might be the only one who liked the old card acquisition system, and the most important thing is that players are happy. The biggest problem with Marvel Snap isn't card acquisition, and it's not meta balance, and it's not bundles. It's negativity coming from the loudest voices in the community. Negativity spreads like a virus. So as long as players are happy, I'm happy. So let's jump into the announcement. While I may think that the old card acquisition system was better, there are some good things in here, and it might not be what you expect. I'm going to assume that you have read and understand the announcement on Spotlight Caches. I'm going to flash it on screen, but I'm not going to bother to read the whole thing to you. If you haven't read it, I suggest you do, or you can just pause the video and read the text. Second dinner starts by explaining what they are. Essentially, every 120 collector levels or 1 in 10 reserves will be a Spotlight Cache. Each week, 3 different Series 4 and 5 cards will be featured, including the new card released that week. When you open one, you're guaranteed to open one of these 3 cards or a random Series 4 or 5 card. If you already own one of the featured cards, the cache will instead feature a time-exclusive variant for the featured card. And honestly, that's the best part of the announcement for me. I'm a sucker for variant. I can't wait to get my hands on these timed exclusive variants. They did say they won't be exclusive forever, but they will be exclusive for a long time. The Spotlight Cache reward pool changes each week and features 1 brand new card, 2 existing Series 4 or 5 cards, and a random Series 4 or 5 card. They later added that it will be more likely to get Series 4 cards than Series 5. They go on to say, more cards for more players, and I'm not entirely sure that's true. If you're a free-to-play player that completes your daily missions, you can expect to get a Series 4 or 5 card from your Spotlight Cache almost every week, and this is a huge increase. And then they show us these samples, and there's a ton of information in these. For Series 3 incomplete free-to-play players, in one season, they would get approximately 1 Series 4 card, the one at random that was guaranteed every 40 reserves, along with 9 Series 3 cards, avatars, titles, rare variants, blah blah blah, 4,000 tokens, 800 gold, and 4,000 credits. The good news is, under the new system, you can expect to open 3 or 4 Series 4 or 5 cards, but you're only opening 8 Series 3 cards, the same blah blah blah. Your tokens are going from 4,000 to 400, and the credits stay the same. You'll notice you're not opening gold anymore. And I think it's great that Series 3 incomplete players will overall be opening more cards, but I don't like that the time it takes to get through Series 3 is going up. In addition to my primary account, which is nearly collection complete, I also do roll a free-to-play account, and I want to show you my current collection to clear up a misconception a lot of players have. You can see at around collection level 2600, I have a decent amount of Series 4 and 5 cards. People think these cards are inaccessible for free-to-play Series 3 incomplete players, but you'll see I need Series 3 cards a lot more than I need Series 4 and 5. Sure, I would love to have Thanos and Jeff the Baby Land Shark and Nebula. I might actually pick up Spider-Pig. In addition to this, I have over 10,000 tokens. The rest of them I don't really need. But in the Series 3 category, I just picked up Doctor Doom today. And I still don't have Death, Destroyer, Dracula, Magneto, Psylocke, Wong, and Luke Cage. The week High Evolutionary came out and everyone was rolling the all-in High Evo deck. Luke Cage was one of the most important cards in the game. And Shuri and Bast. And those cards are way more important than the cards on the Series 4 and 5 list. Just because a card is new doesn't mean it's necessarily good. So I still think I prefer a system where we get through Series 3 a little bit faster. Remember, new cards are being added to Series 3 all the time. Or are they? We'll get to that. And most importantly, we're losing agency. As a free-to-play player, I'm getting enough tokens every season to get 1 Series 5 card of my choice, or 2 Series 4 cards. Each season, I get at least 6,000 tokens. I think it's more than 7,000. And losing the tokens out of reserves means I don't get to target the important cards, the critical cards that you need to compete, because most of them aren't. So even if I'll be opening more cards, the quality of the cards will be lower. And the same is true for Series 3 complete free-to-play players, except I'm not convinced they're going to be getting more cards at all. If you watch my video on card acquisition, what I loved about it is that everyone gets 4 new cards. The biggest spenders get the brand new cards as they come out. And even if you never spent a single token, you received the cards that were dropping down into Series 3. And yes, big bads, but you earned enough tokens to buy them too. And that number can't change. But that's something they didn't add to this image. All of the cards that used to drop down into Series 3 every season. So it looks to me like we'll be getting the same number of cards with less agency. Which does have its upside. They want every card released to be impactful and accessible. And this will increase the impact of new cards. Second Dinner doesn't want the majority of its player base to have a full collection. And there's a reason for that. As players, we always want to be playing with the most competitive decks. And I'm a little bit concerned when they say decreasing the collector's tokens that players receive in other ways. Hopefully they're only talking about the tokens that we were getting out of reserves. And the fact that earning far less gold means we can't be buying the Token Tuesdays. But it could mean more. One thing that's for certain is that tokens are about to get a lot more scarce and a lot more valuable. But now, in addition to being incentivized to hoard tokens, we're also going to be incentivized to hoard spotlight caches. Waiting for the perfect week where there's 3 cards that we really want in it. What isn't in this announcement, but seems to have been shared in the Content Creator Discord, is that if too many people are hoarding spotlight caches, they might not let us stock them up anymore. Upgrade cards to get more cards. Wait, isn't that what we were already doing? This part I really like. I think that the collector level system is absolutely genius. The ability for matchmaking to be based on collection and not just win rate is incredible. And the token shop really killed that because you could buy tokens directly in bundles without increasing your collector level, but without major changes to the way that bundles work, that's not really going to change. In fact, if we are still able to buy tokens in bundles the way that we have been, then buying bundles will be the primary method of card agency, and that puts free-to-play players at an extreme disadvantage. We think the Spotlight Cache system will be a huge improvement to card acquisition for all Marvel Snap players. I'm not sure it's going to be a huge improvement to card acquisition for any Marvel Snap players. Even though it might make the game better overall by increasing diversity, I do think this system makes it harder to target the cards that you want, which overall might be a good thing, but it's definitely not what players have been asking for. As always, this is an iterative process, and we plan on continuing to change things up and improve the system. I believe that. I have confidence in Second Dinner to continue improving Marvel Snap. Keep sharing your thoughts and feedback so we can deliver on the forever game we believe Marvel Snap can be. And I definitely agree with that. On to the FAQs. What happens to saved collector caches and collector's reserves when the change happens? Do not do this. I highly encourage you to open your caches and reserves before this happens. While you might open more cards in the new system, you will open far fewer tokens, and I think that's going to be very important. You want to be hoarding as many tokens as you can right now. And even if you open slightly fewer cards, that's going to even out eventually, because under the new system, the more cards you have, the less likely you are to open more cards. How are collectors' caches and collectors' reserves changing? This is very important. This is what we're giving up to get the spotlight caches. So I'm going to break it down, focusing on the reserve section. Every 9 collector's reserves will now contain, and it's really 10, the 10th will be the spotlight cache, 2 Series 3 or below cards, dropping from 1 in 4 to 1 in 5, or 25% to 20%. They don't mention it here, but I'm told that the amount of tokens is being reduced from 100 tokens to 50. The token slot is dropping from 200 to 600 tokens, and the frequency to the same 1 in 4 to 1 in 5. The currency slot used to be a 40% chance of 200 gold, a 40% chance of 300 credits, and a 20% chance of 400 credits. That's changing to 150 or 200 credits. We don't know the odds. I would assume it's 50%. And the frequency on these is changing from 1 in 4 to 3 in 10. So that's how they're keeping the amount of credits that we earn about the same. We won't be opening gold anymore, and we'll be opening currency boxes slightly more often, 25% up to 33%. And cosmetics are going up as well, changing from 1 in 4 to 3 in 10, the same 25% to 33%. Will Series 4 and 5 cards still appear in collector's reserves? No, they'll be in spotlight caches, fair enough. Are there fixed odds of finding spotlight items in spotlight caches? Also fair enough, I think they're handling this correctly, except that they go on to break down what happens if you open 2, 3, 4, or more, and really the second one is either going to be very expensive, or you're going to have to hoard caches to open a lot at the same time. Will we know about spotlight cache rewards ahead of time? They plan to announce it at the start of each season. I think it's great that they're going to give us time to prepare, except if they literally announce it at the start of each season, then that first week is going to be a surprise. They'll be announcing it on the day it goes live. And finally, how does this interact with flexible series drops? This makes me a little nervous. This feature requires a healthy supply of Series 4 and 5 cards to function, which does explain the recent reduction in series drop frequency, and that's fair enough. I knew they had a plan. I do have faith in Second Dinner, but I am concerned that series drops will continue to be less frequent. I'm not a fan of flexible series drops. If you haven't seen my video on card acquisition, I highly recommend it. I think it's very informative and mildly entertaining. I do really appreciate that Second Dinner is committing to announce the series drops at least 2 weeks in advance, so we'll never have another situation like we did with Darkhawk and Null. Well, I warned you I was going to be critical, but before you think I'm just doomsaying, let me add that I still love Marvel Snap. I think Second Dinner is doing a great job. And even though I preferred the old system of consistent series drops to this new system of spotlight caches, especially for free-to-play players, ultimately, if players like it, and it can bring positivity to the discussion around card acquisition, then that's more important than anything else. Ultimately, I think these spotlight caches are going to be a blast to open. I think they're going to promote the unique collections that Second Dinner wants us to have, which will bring diversity to the meta. I just have some concerns the agency is going to cost money. You'll see me next time on Size Matters.
Size matters.